Well, hi everybody. It's that weekly time for my weekly discussion with Suzanne Taylor King, aka STK, alongside the Gratitude Guy DGB. Suzanne, welcome to the weekly discussion.
Hello, hello.
And what is our topic for today? Of course, we never stay on topic, as we know, but what is our topic today, suggested by you, which I thought was very good?
Well, I was intrigued by somebody's comment to me last week about changing my mind and what that meant as far as pivoting and growth in your business. And sometimes those pivots come in years, and sometimes they come in a matter of days and minutes. And how do we decide if they're right for us or not?
Yeah, and I think, like a lot of things, if you take it back to when we grew up, you think about the impact our parents had on us, obviously, in most cases.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
yes. And sometimes good, sometimes not so good. Sometimes, I think about how many families grew up and the doctors wanted all the children to be doctors, the attorneys wanted to be all attorneys and things like that. But just how we're sort of sent off into the real world and, don't change your mind,
Oh,
pick a path and stick with it. And I think that's a lot of the problem from youth.
I think so. It was definitely, my biggest struggle was leaving the career that I went to college for in order to become a coach 15 years ago was this guilt that, oh, well, I said I wanted to be a dental hygienist and now I'm changing my mind.
Mhm.
Um, and I can't tell you how many times I was told that as a young person. Don't keep changing your mind. Don't keep you know, deciding one thing and then figuring out it's not right for you. And I want to encourage a different approach to that 110% because I think that's when growth happens when you allow yourself to change your mind.
And so, using you as a guinea pig, dental hygienist to coach, can you recall or reconstruct the thought process that you went through when we talked about this offline, about how sometimes you just one day you just wake up and I'm now going to go right instead of left or whatever. But
Mhm.
can you remember what happened with you, that you were going along just fine in this dental hygienist role and career, and then all of a sudden I'm going to do something entirely different? Do you remember what went through your head, or how that sort of shaped and sort of started you to get thinking a different direction?
I was a little bored, like I didn't feel challenged. So I went back to school for a nutrition degree. And I was teaching fitness classes so I could get paid for my exercise time, which I just thought was genius. It held me accountable to showing up to teach. There was never an excuse not to go to the gym because I had 50 or 60 people waiting for me. So you better show up.
Yeah.
And when I got my nutrition certification, I don't know if I told somebody, and immediately this woman said to me, "Oh, I want to hire you." And I thought, "Oh, I was doing it to help my dental patients. Hmm, I could get paid for this outside of my job." And I didn't know what coaching was, had no idea. And it just kind of started expanding from there. And then my husband and I decided to adopt a baby, and we got a phone call on a Friday, May 29th, 30th, something like that. And the phone call was, a baby is coming this weekend. A birth mother chose you. The baby's going to be born this weekend. I had absolutely nothing. And in that split second, I'm out. I'm done. I'm coaching. And it was like nothing, it was surreal experience. I'm going to become a mom. I'm going to get to stay at home. I'm going to get to do something more fun. I don't know what it looks like. I don't care what it looks like. It doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm done.
Well,
And
certainly, and oh, sorry, certainly having a baby could be life changing and take it a whole different direction. But as I recall, the thing that's different to me about your journey compared to some others is you actually really liked being a dental hygienist, didn't you?
I did. I liked the people. I liked the interaction. I liked the caregiving. I liked the conversations and getting to know families of people. Did I like cleaning people's teeth? Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
I mean, unless it had been 10 years since they'd been to the dentist, then there was a little bit of a challenge and that was kind of fun. But liking a repetitive job, think about typing something exactly the same every day on the computer 8 times.
Oh, interesting.
Boring.
Yeah,
Start on this tooth, go around this way, do the x-rays, do the medical history, check off the box, check, 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 done, bye, next.
yeah,
Same thing over again. And it wasn't challenging my psyche at all. Um, and so personal development and reading kind of became that challenge. But the baby thing, 3 days notice,
wow.
and, I'm gonna be a mom. I'm gonna be a mom on Monday. Imagine during this conversation on a Friday, I said to you, "Guess what? Monday, I'm gonna be a mom." You would
Wow.
have been like, "Holy crap, 3 how are you gonna be ready?" And, immediately for me, the pivot happened in a split second. I get to do what I want now, not what my parents chose for me. Oh my
Correct,
god. Oh my god.
correct.
Parents chose that career for me, and it was fine. It was great. It was wonderful, but now I get to decide.
Yeah. And I think that I'm trying to figure out ways that we can encourage people to pivot, to make the change, to not do what your parents wanted you to do. One of the things I talk about in my talks is the 5 regrets of the dying. And one of
Mhm.
the things is I wish I'd lived a life truer to myself than what other people wanted for me.
Yes.
And there's other things too. I wish I kept more in touch with friends and some other things too, but I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I think that's an itch, and there's two more. But I just think the average person to me, and I hate to use everybody as the average, but I just think about, they say that 70% of the people in this country, it varies, hate their jobs.
Yeah.
Monday's the worst day of the week, Wednesday's hump day, thank God it's Friday, all that kind of thing. And so I want to think about ways to encourage people to follow your dream. And one of the ways that I'll suggest from my standpoint at my age, with everything that I've done, is I can't believe I'm at my age. I mean, it's just, I still feel like I'm in my 30s or 40s. I mean, all of a sudden that's 30 or 40 years later. And so it goes by so fast. So really think that through. And I think another one, back to the 5 regrets of the dying, is that I don't know if it's in there or I read it from somewhere else, but one of the ones was, I wish I'd taken more chances.
Yeah.
I think it's so true. And people regret, well, I should have done this, should have done that. And the whole, I don't even like the word should, but I just want to encourage people to follow their dream. And yes, it's kind of scary sometimes, but you'll have a level of fulfillment you're not going to get from punching that clock every day and working for the man for 40 or 50 years, getting a gold watch and going off to the rest home.
Well,
So,
what made you, you know, decide to become a speaker? How old were you when you made that decision?
well, there's two parts to it. I was 63 10 years ago when I decided to become a speaker, but it started back in 1969, which is when I was 19. And I was doing a talk at a high school for an old teacher, a teacher of mine that didn't, old meaning before. And I went back to my car and I just was so thrilled to have talked to these 30 students. And I thought, that's what I want to be someday, as a motivational speaker. And it took me 45 years to get the guts to do it. So I was going down the same path. I was working in retail, running big box stores like Lowe's and Nordstrom and places like that. But it was always in the back of my mind. In fact, even on the day, December 26th, 2013, when I quit Lowe's, I mean, there was that voice in my head. Are you at some point, are you going to do what you always wanted to do? Are you
Yeah.
just going to keep doing it? Are you
Yeah.
going to be like everybody else? And
Mhm.
yes, it was scary. I mean, and as I was advising somebody the other day, that here's my thing, there's the vocation and there's the avocation. So it's like your main thing you do, and then there's your hobby. So you get your hobby built up high enough, it can take over, and then you drop the main
Yeah.
job. But
Yes.
you keep the main job. Well, I didn't keep the main job. You know, I
Mhm.
just went and just quit and just went right and started and telling Connor my favorite line
Same.
about I'm gonna I'm gonna be a speaker. And so I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend the main job, the application, and then when this one passes this one, then you can quit the main job and do it full time because you got to have something called money. And I remember when I decided to do that, I could see I wasn't going to have enough money, and it didn't take me long to, I don't know, 3 or 6 months later to decide that I'm going to have to get a part-time job. So I'm like working at, I live in Seattle, so it's the Seahawks professional team pro shop. I was working there. Then I was driving Uber. Then I was doing DoorDash, and I was doing Postmates and stuff. And I still laugh because I'd like deliver some fried chicken or something, and I'm sure they're going to go, "Aren't you the store manager at Nordstrom? And you're bringing me fried chicken now? What the hell? What happened to you? What kind of career path was that?" So, but the thing is that I believed in it, and then once I got my subject, which was gratitude, then it took it to a next phase. But I think an important concept to remember is it comes in chunks, and it isn't like you said from Friday to Monday. That's a pretty fast transition from Friday. By the way, Monday you're going to be a mom and all that. But most of the time it's steps that just keep adding, adding, adding. And when I think about it, it's like when people pick my brain. You and I have joked about that comment when they pick my brain about it. And I think, well, God, there's all these steps I went through. It didn't just happen overnight. You do a little
Right.
here, a little there, but it starts with more than anything else, a dream of what you want at the top of the list.
Yeah, and I think bravery. I think the ability to, I want to be a speaker and I don't know the steps on how I'm going to do that, but I see that end result is a really clear target for you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and one of my favorite authors, Lenny Basham, he was a Olympic gold medalist, shooter, like rifle champion, the skiing and the shooting.
Oh, yes, yes.
I forget what that's called, but one of the things he said is that without a clear target, you have nothing to aim for. And that at the beginning of my coaching journey, that really stuck out to me. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be a health coach, a fitness coach, a motivational coach, like, I don't know where that's going to end up, but I'm brave enough to follow what's the next thing I need to learn. So after nutrition, it was positive psychology.
Mm,
And that was just, I stumbled upon some reading about positive psychology and it resonated. And I thought, well, that's the way I want to do my mindset work with my health coaching clients, from not negative. I want to do it from the positive. So let me read about this. Let me find out about this. And as I continued, the next thing I had to learn, the next thing I have to learn, the next thing I have to learn, I had the privilege of being able to pivot my coaching business to go along with what I was learning. And I got criticized a lot for that in those early days of, oh, you're changing what you do. No, I'm not. I'm still a coach. I'm adding to my toolbox. And I think that's one of the things that stood out for me with you, with how many things we have in common, is that you have all of these things in your toolbox: resources, books, journals, talks, but all of those life experiences go in that toolbox as well. And I don't know, I think that has just made it better to work with me instead of negative.
yeah.
Like, the fact that I've pivoted a lot means I've grown a lot. So again, it's our choice to look at pivoting as positive, or do you want to look at it as, oh, it's negative? It's negative because I grew? No way. No way.
Well, and you just reminded me too of the fact that as good of friends as you and I have become, we also share that in common as these gigantic pivots that
Yeah.
have really, and I know the word pivot got to use to be a lot used during the pandemic, which was itchy, but it's a good word. And whether it's, go a different direction, hit a T in the road, you can't go straight anymore. You got to go left to right, all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But I'm thinking about the average Joe or Jane out there. What what do we say that would encourage them to follow their dream? I mentioned earlier about I'm getting older and it's gone by fast, and we're all getting older. It's just interesting how what tidbits could we say to them about following your dream, or to encourage them to take that chance and pivot your life, your business, your career, whatever it might be, that might be helpful.
For me, it's never stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
There is no there.
Yeah,
I'm not done,
yeah,
and I'll never be done.
yeah. And you think about learning today. As I look at my computer and I think about, sometimes I worry if somebody was just to grab my computer and run. Fortunately, I back it up. But I think what this little laptop has become so important to me for everything. But think about the access to learning, to your point, that we have really prior to the pandemic and Zoom and all that kind of thing. And even around the early 2000s, when things were really changing with the computerized world. And it's your fingertips. So you
Yeah.
don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home, and you've got all this access to information and training and education and learning and all these things right in front of you on your desk. And so I guess maybe another thing, I'd love your thoughts on this. Um, you have to have a big enough why.
Mm.
And I think the why for me, I was on a podcast the other day. It was the Brian Kelly thing that I told you about, that you connected me with. And his last question, he said, I saved the best for last. It was a great question. And what does success look like to you?
Mm.
And so fortunately, it wasn't scripted, which is the way I like it. So I haven't already thought about something. And I said, well, it's very simple. I said, I divide it into two pieces, personal and professional. Personal success to me means the health and wellness and just good fortune, whatever you want to call it. I have my two sons. I said, as long as they're doing well, I'm a happy camper. Everything is great. And I said, professionally, it's impacting lives to the point where every week I'm told, you changed my life. And
Mm.
I've got 2 or 3 more comments off of YouTube this morning, and then a note in the mail yesterday, and different emails and texts and comments and so forth. And so how would you say, and so like, to me, that's kind of the why. How would you look at it from your standpoint that might encourage other people to get a big enough why? But those are kind of two big whys for me.
Oh, to get a bigger why? I think having a conversation with somebody like you or I about their why.
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's a great tool called the YOS, um, which was invented by a dentist. Um, and it helps you clarify your why, what, and how. Simple assessment. And it was pretty informative for me. Um, and I've worked with numerous coaches over the years who helped with that self-discovery process, whether it was Clifton Strengths or, some sort of self-assessment. And I've done them all. And really being willing to look at yourself, I think you have to do that if you want to grow.
Yeah. And again, I'm thinking about how I can encourage those people, how you and I can encourage those people to take the chance, because it's not only did they say that I wish I'd taken more chances, but it's just interesting. I don't almost like to drop statistics every other moment, but I read the other day, and I had it in a video, that like 90% of everything we worry about never happens. You know, we're extending all this energy, and we're worrying about, well, what if I didn't get a paycheck? What if I didn't have enough money? What if I couldn't pay my bills? What if we didn't have a house or a roof over our head? There's all that kind of thing. And the reason I think it's interesting and want to just continue to encourage people is, I don't know the stats on this, but I'll guarantee you, as much as we hear about people that are entrepreneurs and all the Elon Musks of the world and Steve Jobs and so on and so forth, the very fact of the matter is the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, the person that runs their own business. If you look at it in totality in the United States, they're probably 1% of the population, in the working population, maybe 0.5%. Most people, 99%, are worker bees that work for other people and get a check every other Friday, and that's what they get. So I'm just wondering, what are the ways we can encourage people to take that chance? And I'll start it off, and I love your comments. By one of the things is, I've said this in talks before. What did you want to do or be when you grew up? What would you do for free? What would you do for, if you didn't get paid and you just looked forward to going to work? You couldn't wait to get there. How
Yeah.
would you volunteer your time? What would you do and where would you go? and just trying to get people, to get moving towards something that would really fulfill their greatest desire of helping other people. And
Yeah.
so, any other thoughts on that about we could again keep people to get excited to maybe take that step?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I think you either have it or you don't.
Mhm.
That entrepreneurial drive. I think a lot of people think that they want to own their own business. Hence all of the network marketing companies out there that are successful. People think that doing that is going to give them the keys to their own business. And most people who enter in some sort of franchise like that, like network marketing, don't do well. They don't make the money that they desire. And I believe because it's a low bar to entry.
Yeah,
Entrepreneurship is a low bar to entry. You can start with $0, zero knowledge, hang a shingle, and do something. I mean, it's the list of things that are possible as a solopreneur are never ending. So I won't even go into the list, but I think because it's a low bar to entry, so many are not successful.
right.
So I would say really think about the product, the service, and who you are as a person, because being an entrepreneur is the greatest personal development journey you're ever going to go on. And at the beginning, you're going to be broke.
Yeah,
So figure out something to generate money first.
yeah,
And if I had it to do over again, honestly, I would have stayed being a dental hygienist part-time while I started my coaching practice.
yeah.
I would have.
That's interesting because I kind of mentioned the same thing about I would have stayed at the
Yeah.
other job, the vocation versus the avocation,
Yeah.
and wait until it makes enough money to pass it. And then somebody might say, well, wait a second, that's a lot of hours. Yes. Well, is
Mhm.
it worth it? You're working a 40-hour job and then you're working another 40-hour job, which is your avocation, the product or service that you're building to be an
Mhm.
entrepreneur. And yeah, that adds up to 80 hours a week. It doesn't leave much more time for sleeping and getting a bite to eat once in a while. And that's about it. But
Yeah.
that's the sacrifice that you have to make, and the journey is worth it. I mentioned to you the whole thing about YouTube today, getting to 500,000 views, and
Woohoo!
yeah, I know. Thank you. And I just
Yeah.
remember doing the first video back in December of 2007, and that was 17 years ago. And I was thinking, man, what a long journey that's been. But that's
Oh, we
kind
should watch that video today.
of,
Can
oh
we
yeah, yeah, I remember that one. I gotta think
full
which
beginnings?
with the very, very, very first ones. There's a couple that were the very first. Um, but anyway, but it's the point being is that it's something like the analogy they use of like I'm trying to think, not the tree, the rings of a tree, like the more rings, the older the tree is, or whatever. But it's something about something that takes time to build over and over again has a value much more than a quick fix. It's like, do you want a lifestyle change or do you want a quick fix? You want a
Yeah.
lifestyle change. You don't want a quick fix. And so I think and maybe we'll wrap up on this note. I just want to encourage people to get out there and one of the reasons why for those that might be watching, it isn't just suggesting this, but we're not doing it ourselves. Suzanne and I have gone through two major pivots in the last 60 to 90 days about definitely taking a hard left versus taking a hard right. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to decide. And something else that I would add, and then I'll get some final thoughts from you, STK, is that I just use this example all the time about you wanted to go left on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then you wake up on Tuesday, you decide to go right. What
Mhm.
happened from Monday to Tuesday? I don't know, but all of a sudden you just decided, and it's okay
Yeah.
because that's what you wanted to trust in your brain. It'll tell you. And it's someplace like Steve Jobs said in his commencement speech to Stanford in 2005, you can connect the dots backwards, but not forwards. And you can look back and see why this happened. And I joke about how I first met STK and the look on the picture of her that I saw, which is so funny, but all that kind of thing. But then going forward, you have to connect. Jobs said you have to connect, you have to trust that the dots, if I could talk, dots will connect going forward. You have to trust that they will connect too. And then when you get forward and look back, you'll see again, oh, well, if it wasn't for this wouldn't have happened, that wouldn't have happened. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
point being is that just have faith and think about it a lot. And I'm a big person about, I love lists and things like this. It just works for me to free my brain up. Make a list of what you want to do, and then all the things it would take to be doing it, and title it, my personal pet project, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe you've got something, a product or a service you want to do, and then just start making a list and add all the things and look through how would I be able to do this or that, and it'll get you encouraged to step in the right direction. And then take the list, another more important thing, and put it in the right order. Prioritize it. Maybe number 10 should be number 1, and then go through and get this. I need to rent a space for where I'm going to have my pottery, company, and then I need to look in to get a potter's wheel, and then look to see how much that costs, or whatever it might be. But make a list and go through it and start thinking about it, and that'll get you encouraged. So any thoughts on that, Suzanne?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the power of having somebody to talk
Mm,
to about these things, because the pivot that you and I agreed to hold each other accountable for a couple weeks ago, maybe maybe it was more than a month ago now. We agreed to start taking things off our calendar to make other things happen. Like, there needed to be space for both of us
right.
in order to actually reach these targets that we have. And we both noticed that we were doing some things that weren't in alignment with, not that they were bad things, but they weren't going to get us to that goal. And I'll give this example. If you're going to 5 networking events per week and you're meeting with people who are not your ideal clients or referral partners, how is that going to get you speaking gigs? It's not. And why is it on your calendar? Because, oh, it's fun. It makes me feel good, or it makes me feel important, or whatever. And you have to really be discerning when you're trying to get to your target. My mentor suggested to me, if I wanted my book done, my signature program done and launched, and to do this upgrade that I'm doing with my business, go dark for 6 months.
I like that.
"Oh, dark? What do you mean? I love black. I'll wear black every day." "Sure, I could do that." And she's like, "No, disappear. Become unrecognizable." So I come back with long hair and 25 pounds thinner, in really great shape, with a new signature program and new offers, new calendar boundaries, new things that I do on a weekly basis. And that'll all look like a surprise to people, but I've already been doing it, right? It's like this, I don't know. It really struck me. I was like, "Go dark. Oh, what
Yeah,
does that
that's neat.
mean?"
That's
And
neat.
and it and I think what she really means by that is, don't get distracted by doing things that aren't gonna get you to your goal. You don't need to be, my clients don't come from social media 9 times out of 10, and neither do yours. They might get initial awareness of David, or, somebody's gonna hire you for a speaking gig. They might check out your YouTube channel, but they're not scrolling social media
Exactly.
looking for a speaker. That's not how the world works.
Exactly.
So I think having another person to say, "I want this, and here's how I'm going to get it," hold me to being accountable for not doing all of those things that I used to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's number 1 for me.
Well said. Well said. So, well, I'm going to let us wrap up here, and I want to encourage all of you. Hopefully, you've learned taken a few takeaways from this. I will tell you something that is really important. If you're saying, "Well, Suzanne or David, if I go ahead and do this and then I'm successful, is there a way that I can tell I'm successful? When I broke away from my 8 to 5 job, my 9 to 5 job, and then did this and became really successful, how will I know when I'm successful?" I'll tell you exactly how you know when you were successful. When your friends tell you you're so lucky, You're so lucky that you have your own business. You're so lucky that you work for yourself, that you're an entrepreneur or whatever. There is no luck. It's just hard work. Get out there and make it happen. So good luck
Yeah.
to all of you. Pivot, pivot, pivot. You'll be definitely glad you did. All right, everybody. Have a great day.